And this client wanted something really bold. They were a fun, energetic partnership, and they wanted something different, and I felt that. And so I was like racking my brain. I was like having creative block, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. And then I was like, oh wait. Welcome to the Media Books Podcast, the only place on the internet where creative accounting isn't a bad thing. Owning a virtual firm today means having a professional and modern online presence, and in this podcast, we talk about how to do just that. My name is Kristen Corey, and I'm the owner of Media Books, a media agency that provides creativity exclusively to accounting firms. And if you're an accounting firm owner, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Media Books Podcast. My name is Kristen Corey, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about 3 things you should consider before you hire a creative. Now, I originally had the title of this podcast episode, 3 Things You Should Consider Before Hiring a Website Designer, but I realize a lot of you are probably not in a stage where you're hiring website designers. Maybe you're hiring like marketing professionals or other types of creative people, branding people. And so I wanted this podcast to be more universal because the principles still apply even if you're hiring outside of like website design. And so part of also the reason that I wanted to record this episode is because when I look at a lot of the marketing and creative space out there, there's a lot of principles and things that are taught that, I'll be transparent, I don't think is really fair. I don't think it's fair to your audience. I think sometimes we're just trying to charge crazy high prices and not give a ton of value back. And maybe some people would say, well, you're paying me for my years of experience. Yes, and there's some things that only take you 5 seconds to do that you're charging thousands of dollars for, which I don't know. I mean, charge for it, but I think sometimes those prices are inflated. And so this podcast is really to help you kind of weed out who are kind of going to be the great creatives that you want to work with and are going to have success with, and who are maybe the ones that aren't a right or perfect fit. And so 3 things. Number 1, they won't show you their portfolio. If a creative won't show you their portfolio, it's either because 1, they're just getting started, which, I mean, I've been there, we've all been there, and they don't have a very large portfolio, which is fine. Or 2, they're not super excited about their portfolio. Now, if this person is just getting started, that's totally fine. I was there when I first got started. I remember like clients would ask like, hey, can you share, your website design portfolio? And I would share like 3 websites and I'd be like, please do not ask for a 4th because I don't have one. And so, I mean, we all have like a place that we're starting at. And that's okay, but that should also be reflected in the price. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that when you're just getting started. And so that's one thing. If they're not showing their portfolio, it is for one of 2 reasons. They're just getting started, they don't have a huge portfolio, or maybe they're just not super proud of it, or there's not a lot of great work in there, and they may feel that. I usually have a good gauge as far as what our clients need, whether we're going to be able to hit their needs. We have some clients that want something really bold and creative and different and crazy and wild. And I'm like, okay, like I'll be transparent and be like, hey, like we're going to try to make this happen. We've never done this before. Just last month, we launched a website where we did their logo and their branding, and the logos I was presenting, they weren't super different. They were nice logos, but I think they weren't really exciting this particular client. And this client wanted something really bold. They were a fun, energetic partnership, and they wanted something different, and I felt that. And so I was like racking my brain. I was like having creative block, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. And then I was like, oh wait. I remember seeing an article months and months ago about how animated logos are the new thing in designing the branding world. I was like, what if I create an animated logo? I've never done an animated logo before. I have no idea how to do this. I have no idea what issues we're going to run into when they're trying to put their logo on their email campaigns or put their logo on an invoice. How do you put an animated logo on an invoice? Is it going to create all these problems? And so I came to them and I was transparent. I was like, hey, I've never done this before. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to be figuring this out together. I hope you're good with that. But if you're willing to take the risk, so am I. And they were cool with it. And it turned out great. We've kind of had a few safety measures in place. If something does go wrong, we have a backup plan. But I was transparent. And so I think if you're working with a designer or creative, and they're maybe hesitant or they're holding something back, maybe ask a few questions. Be like, hey, like, do you not have any others? It's okay if you don't. Or like, have you ever done a website for any accounting firms? No, you haven't. Okay, well, like, I understand. Like, do you need anything else from me? I think transparency is really just the best policy because as a designer, if there's a creative listening, I think if you overset expectations, you're just going to find yourself, in trouble in the end. So, if someone is transparent with you, like, hey, I'm a new designer. Okay, great. Let's just hope that their pricing matches it. And maybe you're in the perfect place where, you actually need you need a budget website. And so a new designer who doesn't have a great portfolio is fantastic. So there's that. So make sure that they show you their portfolio. That's one thing. The second thing kind of builds off that. The thing that you should consider before hiring a creative is what their style is. And the best way to do this is, again, with their portfolio. If you look at their portfolio and you're feeling like, this isn't quite me, maybe ask more questions first. When it comes to any sort of creative, whether it is a website designer, whether it is a movie director, whether it is a photographer or a fashion stylist, this person is going to have a little bit of a style. There may be things that you see come up again and again, small details, but typically, fashion designers, you'll probably see a lot of like the same thing. But like with something like web design, where you're designing something for someone else and it needs to be tailored to their brand, overall things should look a little bit different, but you will notice some similarities. And so, for example, if you look at through our portfolio, we have it on our website, mediabooksagency.com. Top bar, you can find our portfolio. If you go through our portfolio and you spend a lot of time studying it, you can probably find similarities in our design style. You can only design, there's only so much you can do with a website when it comes to designing it. After designing, 100, you're like, okay, like I can only make the services page so different from one accountant to another. And so you'll find a little bit of like crutches here and there, but overall the website should look different. The colors, the fonts, whether they use curved borders or whether they use sharp borders or whether the graphics are they look like they're drawn or they look like they're AI generated. All these little things are going to be things that are important to creatives or designers, and those things should all look different, but there will be little things that they rely on. And so if you're looking through a portfolio of a creative and you're noticing their style doesn't really change that much, it's kind of the same from one to the next, then okay, that's fine. Are you okay with that style? Does that style match your brand? If your answer is no, like their style is like super different from one client to the next, like I can't even tell it's the same designer, then that may be a good indication that this is going to be a good creative for you, because whatever branding you have in place, there's a good indication that they're going to be able to copy it. I have seen people on the internet talking and they've said things like, oh, that designer, like all their stuff looks the same. And it's like, yes, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just because then you kind of know what you're getting. That's the risk of working with a designer or creative, is if you don't have a brand style guide, but you're working with someone who has a very consistent style, you have more expectations and you kind of know what you're going to be getting. And so second thing to consider when you are working with a creative is, what is their style? Does it align with yours? Are they very adaptable in their style? And if so, do you have a brand style guide that can guide them on that process? And the third thing that you should be considering when deciding whether to work with a creative is, I couldn't figure out like the right way to say this other than just like stuffing the services with like needless stuff. And you'll see this sometimes in like the maintenance packages. We have a maintenance package for prior clients, but there are two things on it and it's very clear what they are, what they do. And you'll see this, I think, with a lot of other unfortunately, with a lot of other website designers. I hate to be calling people out, but it'll be things like, we'll keep your system updated. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. Unless you're using something like WordPress, where like the plugins need to be updated, every month, or a backup needs to be created every other month. Unless that's needed, I don't see, like, you're probably paying a lot of money for just services that don't really make sense. For example, like I said, you have the WordPress, like a WordPress designer. Sometimes they do have plugins that need to be updated on a regular basis. But if I were to see a Squarespace website designer that was like, we'll have a backup of your website, we'll keep backups of your website, we'll make backups every month. I feel like that's why, like, a backup on a Squarespace website, it's not really a need for it unless you were going in and intentionally messing with something that needs to be changed. A backup on a WordPress website is different because sometimes plugins expire. And so if a plugin that is holding your website together expires, then you've lost your website. So in that sense, on like WordPress, I can see that making sense. On something like Squarespace, if someone is saying that they're going to do backups, you really only need it like maybe once a year. And the reason for that is Squarespace doesn't necessarily have pieces of their website that expire or break where, you're going to lose your website. Now, if you go into your Squarespace website and hit delete, then yes, a backup would be important. In which case I would say just don't hit the trash can button. But, when we design a website for our clients, we create a backup. And it's just kind of put in the archive. It's just their original website, their fresh website that we've designed for them. And we kind of put it in a folder towards the bottom. And we tell them it's there in case they break anything. But when they go in and they start editing things on their website, I can only control so many buttons that you push at a time. I can't control every single button that you push. So if I were to start charging in our maintenance packages for monthly website backups, it would make more sense for me to just say, if you want any changes, let me handle it, versus having a website backup plan where it's only going to be really needed if you personally go in and hit the delete button on your website. So I'm trying to make sure that this is communicated appropriately to accountants from a designer. But a lot of times when you see these services and you see these packages, they're going to include things that are just nonsense. And so ask questions about what is included. For example, if they're charging you for every additional page, that makes sense. If they're charging you for, let's say our website plan, it comes with 5 website pages and you want an additional page, we charge for that because there's going to be a lot of labor that goes into designing a whole additional page. But if you want something like a link added to your website, for example, we'll have clients that come to us and say, I want to have a client portal on my website. Can you do that? Is that an additional charge? That takes me less than 5 seconds to put that together. I'm not going to charge you for that. I want you to like your website and use it. And I want all these people rushing to your website. Why would I charge you for something that takes less than 5 seconds to put together? So having said that, ask questions about your website, ask questions about what is included. I know there's sometimes a little bit of pushback because we definitely, when we send proposals to clients, we don't want the return email to be, can you send me an itemized list of all the things that are included and why it costs this much? But I do think it's important to kind of understand, okay, I want to optimize my website. I want to add more things to my website, or I want to make sure I'm not overcharging or paying for something that I can do myself. What am I paying for exactly? Because I can tell you more than once we've had clients come to us and say, oh, I'm paying this tech designer to store my domain. And it's like, you don't need to do that. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of get more of people's money out there when they don't really understand the services that you do. So those are the 3 things I would definitely recommend considering before you start working with a creative. When that applies to like whether you're a web designer or a photographer or what have you, understanding kind of why people are charging what they're charging, wanting to see their portfolio, and then also wanting to get a good sense of their style and see if their style aligns with you and your brand. When it comes to designing websites, the service page always takes much more time than anticipated. It can sometimes be hard to verbalize everything you do, so I always recommend simplifying, which is what I'm going to do right now with MediaBooks. Here at MediaBooks, we offer 3 services for every stage of your business. We offer web design for when you are just getting your marketing strategy up and running, or you need a website refresh. We offer website audit services for those DIYers, and we also have advisory services for those who love their website and are ready to advance their marketing skills. Get started with MediaBooks by visiting MediaBooksAgency.com. MediaBooks, the only place on the internet where creative accounting isn't a bad thing.